I'm Mark Boda. I am the professor of Old Testament here at McMaster Divinity College. Oh, I love to teach a course that I teach right now, actually this semester, on the Psalms. And I love to teach the Psalms because it's so key for Christians, both in terms of how they talk to God and it shapes their prayer life, as well as how it communicates to us. It's rather unique in the Old Testament in that it's one of the books of the Old Testament in which you hear humans speaking to God, and at the same time God is speaking right back to them in the midst of that text. So in my course, I give students a lot of opportunity to work with the Psalms, and they can kind of pick and choose their assignment the way they kind of want to learn about the Psalms. So there's opportunities in the classic areas in seminary education, like preaching and teaching the Psalms and how to go about doing that. And they have opportunity to create sermons or Bible studies. But there's also opportunities to do artistic work for those that are more the creatives in our midst. And so they can create art, different types of art. They can create new poems, they can create new narratives, and they also have an opportunity to work, if they're in counseling especially, to work with the Psalms and use the Psalms in the midst of counseling in the variety of issues that people face within our world. So I love Psalms because it's one of those easy books in the Old Testament to connect with the life of ministry. And so we get to walk through the diversity of ways in which people talk to God in the Psalms, and there's everything from painful lament and complaint to God over to exuberant praise, and we get to look at all the different forms and expressions to God, and students always deeply connect with that because it resonates with their own life of faith, what they're seeing as they minister to people in their churches, as well as then equipping them to be able to do that work. So that's why I love Psalms. I love teaching the Psalms class. I have, over the years, kept my interest closely focused on prayer, as of course, and Psalms fits into that prayer area. But I'm very fascinated by prayer as it functions within the rest of the books of the Old Testament, not just in Psalms. And you get prayers all the way through from Genesis over into Nehemiah in all the narrative books. So I'd love to look at and do research on the way prayers function within those books of the Bible. I'm also very interested in the prophets and the role of the prophets within ancient Israel and the role of the prophetic voice today. So I do a lot of writing in the area of the prophets of Isaiah, Jeremiah, especially into what's called the Book of the 12 or the minor prophets, and the Book of Zechariah. So I love to work with the prophets, and recently have worked in the area of the Book of Lamentations, which is a really painful book, but it intersects the two together. It has prayer, but it's associated very closely, as I'm studying it, with the prophet Jeremiah, as it has traditionally been known as being the lamentations that come from Jeremiah. And so that the whole prophetic world and the prayer world are coming together nicely in my recent work in the Book of Lamentations. I have an odd hobby that over the years I've enjoyed renovating two turn of the century, and I mean the 1900s, so 1910, 1913 houses, one in Regina and one here in Hamilton, and kind of restoring it carefully back to its original form. And that means a lot of skills and a lot of things in the weekend and summer holidays to work with, and creating woodwork that matches the earlier way that they built houses. So I've taken a couple of houses that way from top to bottom, 3-story houses, and done that kind of loving work to take it back to its original. They're kind of heritage homes when I'm finished with them. So that's kind of a fun thing that keeps me working with my hands and not just my brain. And I enjoy all the different types of things you do when you're renovating a house, whether it's electrical or plumbing or woodwork or drywalling. I've learned all those skills, which has been really helpful because I do a lot of work sitting down here in my office and writing and researching, and that gives me an opportunity to work a bit more with my hands and my physical body. So that's a bit of my little hobby that I have on the side.